Hey guys, Th3 here and welcome back to another Finnish-Polish motorized ranked battle. The plan over here on Paddy Field is to defend the right and attack on the left. A motorized deck like mine is capable of doing quite a bit of work inside of forests, especially with the high-end anti-tank weapon that the JFHeasy are carrying. The deck, if you want to see it, is linked down below in the description. It is Blitzwar's creation with a twist of my own. And Blitz said, you know what, just keep playing the same deck over and over and over until you are completely familiar with it. Don't keep changing the deck. Which makes sense. Now over on the left I have very little in the sense of armor, because the only armor that this deck has is the T55 Recon. Well, and the Charioteer if you want to call it as such. I'm still a corporal at this point and I'm fighting a second lieutenant, a McMahon 42. So when it comes to ranks, I'm a little outranked, if you will. In Gregory, because it is sometimes a Panther-heavy area, I decided to bring an Ito 90 to go hunt expensive helicopters. Unfortunately, no expensive helicopters as such materialized. Nevertheless, always handy to have one of those things around. I'm also having a Talak 84 mortar in the middle to try and support either over here or in case that I need to in the middle. Also, here's an Ito 90. I got a BMPU-1 TJJ Recon over there, holding the ground, and he started with a CV, so I'm gonna have to buy another CV as well, because I'm not interested in having him tick a +2. So, let's drop off some units here, and I immediately get shot at by what looks like a fire support vehicle, and is in fact a Skrajet. They're able to do a little bit of damage against my JFHeasy, nothing too bad. I decide to smoke off the area and make sure his fire support does not help the building that I want to capture. Which is the buildings over there. As you can see, the JFHeasy were already moving forward to it. The T55 Recon is going to be parked on the road. And I'm basically waiting until either somebody moves into the building or until I get eyes on the building to have all my fire support there, light it up and take it out. There's one little oversight. I did not send anything to the forest on the right. And with that little oversight, I'm going to be in a tiny bit of trouble in a minute. Now the Yikiri are able to push forward. I do lose a few of them, but nothing too bad. And over on the far right, I have a little bit of light infantry to hold that town. Some infantry scouting out the side there. And, well, I'm just considering what else to bring there. He's bringing a couple of helicopters. I already have my Ito. And since I don't really want to send a heavy, high-end anti-air vehicle there, I'm just going to send a ZSU 57-2. These boys, which are mostly fire support. JFHeasy there took a bit of a beating, and I decided to pull them back a little, potentially to heal them up, because they are expensive infantry. They're high-end infantry, and they're better alive. And look at what I find. Or rather, something found me, because it was able to take out a vehicle. As it turns out, there are a couple of VDV around. So I'm moving forward and backwards at the same time. The JFHeasy here are hunting down the VDV. I'm calling in some more. And at the same time, over on the far right, pushing against an Mi-8. As well as on the left, pushing forward with a couple of units. I spot something that has an autocannon over there. I don't exactly know what it is, so let's just keep our distance. And over here we have a VDV. So the Yikiri get to fire at it. The fire support gets to move in. Although I'm a bit hesitant to really make a move here. Because I don't really feel like I need to hit his two-pointer just yet. There's still a ton of terrain that I can capture. There's still a bunch of sectors that I can put CVs in. I don't really feel like I need to grab it already. Now interestingly, the Scott 2s there got detected. So he has an eye on them. I just need to find that. And at this point, I know that there's VDV coming in. The T55 Recon tank is able to deal with vehicles as they come down the road. And I'm just going to try and get as many units killed off as possible. There. Skrajet. Guess what that is? More VDV. This guy was a big fan of VDV 90. They just kept popping up, including Spetsnaz. So he has the high-end anti-tank and the infantry combo there. And I'm entirely uninterested in dealing with that at short range, let alone without fire support. So, time to get my vehicles back, time to get my infantry back, hit them with mortars, and beyond that, basically see what is happening on the other side. And what's happening is that there are two T-72B 1987s pushing in with VDV. The VDV are going to try and take the building, and my ATGMs are blinded. So that's great. Time to call in a Syria and deal with one of those tanks, because that's expensive. If I can get rid of that, that'd be great. Another mortar strike on the VDV there, but there's also a T-80B, and my tank got taken out by the VDV. So that's one of his tanks down, but he keeps pushing with more high expensive stuff. The Ka-52. The Ito-90 that I had died. So in order to deal with the other Ito, I'm just looking for my own. I'm bringing the Ito over, and I'm also going to call in another one, because apparently helicopters are something that, at the moment at least, I don't really have an answer to. So let's bring some more anti-air. Over here, not too much going on, except for me trying to get more forces on the flanks. As a motorized deck, I'm trying to learn more and more how to use those flanks to my advantage. Trying to get a better sight on the enemy, get side shots with ATGMs. Stuff like that is supposedly the lifeblood of these motorized decks, so I might as well try and make use of that as best I can. The Ka-52 is harassing my infantry inside the building with an autocannon, and there's nothing I can do at the moment. Until the Ito-90 arrives. It takes a shot at the Ka-52. Since it's not radar guided, the Ka-52 is not able to do anything, and there goes the Ka-52. So at this point, I know that I have taken out one of his high-end tanks, I've taken out his high-end helicopter. He's down a few points, and that could very well be an advantage. So I might be able to get a little bit of time to reinforce my sector. Get one Ito on the left, one Ito on the right. See what else is out here. A couple more units. And let's start bringing ATGMs all over the place. If he wants to push in those buildings again with vehicles, it's going to get expensive. That's the plan. And he is definitely going to push on the buildings again, because there's a quad stack of MTLBVs coming in. At this point, I didn't really have fire support for the vehicles, for the infantry here, so my answer is to bring in a Hawk. Lots of the Modestrelki are combined there, and they are taking a bit of a bombing run damage. Unfortunately, I don't get all of them, but I get enough of them to buy my infantry enough time to get rid of the rest. And I already have the other Tilak 84, another mortar coming in to try and support. I also want to try and get these guys back up to strength, so a logistics unit coming in there to repair them, rearm them, and get them ready for round 2, which is, at this point, inevitable. The Sissy team has not yet detected anything nor been detected, so that's good. And considering that there was quite concentration in Modestrelki, I considered bringing in the Scots with their, with their machine guns to try and support, but I ended up not needing it. More VDV. I think that these guys never actually left. The VDV were probably still there. Now he tries to make a move on my forces again. So at this point, with limited units, I decide to vacate the premises. I simply didn't have enough units to really hold there. My fire support would get quickly murdered by any infantry there, so it's not worth it. Let's pull back. And let's instead buy a CV for Anna. Because at some point I'm going to have to start taking some points. And Anna, at the moment, is fairly safe, although there are those up-ramps, which I'm going to be defending by Terramustis. Interestingly, this logistics vehicle is able to arrive in Gregory unharmed. So I think that McMahon 42 currently doesn't have his fire at logistics units thing turned on, which is excellent for me, because it means that my vehicles are able to get there. So that is going to be very useful in order to resupply Gregory, as I can do that a few more times throughout the battle. At this point, Spetsnaz and VDV are making their presence known and are pushing. And because of that, it's time for the mortar support, as well as basically beating a retreat. Because I'm surely out of infantry here. Yes, I still have some KTs, so if they come across, I have an advantage, but at this point, I don't. So time to recognize when it's time to leave, especially since there seems to be no shortage of VDV in those forests. Which does give me an opportunity to hit them with more mortars. I don't need to kill them strictly, I just need to get rid of as much health as possible to dissuade him from further pushing. Now, time for the Zil 157 to come in with more reconnaissance infantry and get better vision on the middle. Because I really don't know much about it. In the meanwhile, I'm considering getting more vehicles and forces over here to Boris and potentially center after that. But, well, I basically have what I wanted. I have Boris. If I can capture those two sectors and I can keep contesting Gregory, eventually parking a CV in there, that'd be great. Now, there's a BMD-3 over there, and a command tank is rolling in. I was really not expecting to see a T-80 UK. A, at all. B, over there. I'm not sure why you would want to lead from the front with a command tank. But I had a Seria on standby. And it's a beautiful target, a T-80 UK. You don't get that many of them. But unfortunately, the recon team loses sight because they went in the forest. Shit. The Seria takes a hit from the Yak 141 that's circling. I knew it was there, I just decided to ignore it. And instead, I try and hunt down the T-80 UK. Unfortunately, the T-80 UK is not happy about that. Surprise. And starts shooting at the Sissy team. Fortunately, nothing too deadly, because I would really like to maintain reconnaissance on that sector. The BMD-3 starts taking mortar fire as I try to push him out of that sector as best I can. The infantry has arrived, and I can kind of see the command tank, but line of sight there with that tree line is very shaky. So unfortunately, I don't see it long enough in order to deal damage to it. What I do see is an Mi-8 MTV, and I don't really have an answer. So time to bring up that 57-2 as a sort of makeshift anti-air. He's once again captured Fedor. I think that he might have another command unit in there. I just don't exactly know why the command tank would be here at this point. But I decide to start playing around there. What I want to try and do is get as many HGMs and fire support vehicles over there on the side. That's the side of Fedor and not center as I'm watching it now. I want to try and get HGMs over there and just spook that command tank out of that sector. Just keep threatening it with missiles the moment that it moves and try to regain vision with the recon team. If I can keep doing that, I might be able to win this thing, or at least push him out of Fedor, which would give me a +1. So there's all sorts of vehicles coming in. There's a mix of HGMs, cheap ones and expensive ones, or at least more expensive ones. And between the two of those, they hopefully are able to kill the vehicles that are in there. The BMD-3, the command tank, the T-80 UK. I have a fairly good idea where it is. It's somewhere in one of those two tree lines on the left. But I can't quite see it, despite it being a big target. Now this is when, I think it's the... No, it's not a Yak, it's the MiG-25 RBT. It's a cluster bomber it comes in. I don't know why, but okay. That's what he calls in. And the Yak was also circling around there at some point. So I think it is... There you go. It's time to buy an anti-air unit. The ROM. Especially against airplanes, I prefer the ROM over the ITO. And especially if you have two of them, they're going to be very deadly with the two of them together. Now, he tries to go for a cluster run, I think, trying to kill the Mi-17, but I suspect that he lost sight on it. And because of that, the Mi-17 survives, and so does their package, the infantry. So at the moment, I have a little +1 going. I would love to keep that up. I would also love to keep my ATGMs alive. And unfortunately, the transport for the Airco got stuck in the mud. So the Airco are going to have to gut out and walk the rest of the way there. Which is both going to give me anti-air as well as reconnaissance on the side of Fedor. That's the plan. Because from here I still can't see anything. I'm also trying to get another ATGM unit up there. Of course the buildings are not going to help me, but I need to ascertain that there's nothing in those buildings, in those tree lines, before I'm able to get my ATGMs out there safely. So you can see I'm slowly but steadily building a sort of ATGM wall over here in Foxtrot. Or to the edge of Foxtrot. Or whatever, Fedor. Now, can I get some line of sight on the command tank, please? The answer is no. The command tank just refuses to be seen. I mean, I get why, but I wasn't happy about it. And what I do find is a BMD-3. I think the BMD-3 was kind of forgotten. And if there is a BMD3, there is likely VDV. And the VDV gets offloaded. Unfortunately, the mortar team is not in support. I do decide to call in my my Hawk, my bomber. The ATGMs from this light infantry group are hopeless, and they're really not able to hit anything. I'm trying to get the Hawk to bomb the VDV and potentially the BMD, but there is a Yak and the MiG-25 up, and one ROM cannot deal with that many threats. What those aircraft can do is deal with my threat. So the Hawk dies, but it's only a 60-point vehicle, so what? Call in a logistics vehicle for the one ROM that fired and bring in a second ROM. In the meanwhile, the VDV are bouncing all over the place, and I'm trying to get rid of them using an Mi-17 that I still had over there from the drop-off of the Fagot ATGMs. I'm still floating a lot of points again. And at this point, I'm trying to bring in a Salamandra to help scout out against the command tank. If I can wipe that thing out, I get a +2, which would be lovely. Now, the Airco keep missing their mark. The Mi-8 MTV does not take a hit. The Salamandra does take a hit from an OSA AKM, unfortunately. The Airco finally get their hit, and that means that the Mi-8 MTV is down. I have a lot of points, 150 at this point, so time to call in some more units and make sure that that area is clear. And lo and behold, there is another T-80 UK command tank coming in. So once again, I consider bringing in this area, but once again, the Yak-141 kind of dissuades me until it takes such a hit that it's probably not going to be a threat. By that time, however, the window has closed. I can't see the command tank anymore, but I know exactly where it is. Unfortunately, I don't have a cluster bomber, not the MiG-25 like he does. So at the moment, I don't really have an answer to dealing with that command tank other than potentially just pushing in. There is another Yak-141 out there. Now this time I have one ROM in position and the other one, surprise surprise, is stuck in the mud. So I'm trying to kind of hunt this thing down and hope that it turns my way. Probably dodging the OSA AKM. Emphasis on probably, but I got way too close to that thing. And even though the Yak takes a hit, my MiG doesn't escape unharmed either. Still, my my HGMs are not able to kill that OSA AKM. This is very frustrating. I still need a better position for the HGMs. So, okay, fine. Let's move, let's continue. And instead, let's hit the OSA again with more mortars. As I'm looking back on it now, what I should have called in was a T-55 recon tank. That probably would have had the range to deal with the OSA. There's still more infantry coming in there. There's a bunch of VDV moving forward. There's MTPLBs. There's going to be all sorts of nastiness coming out of that forest. He's definitely prepping a push, just as I'm trying to deal with everything in Fedor. And since he had that command tank in Greg, I'm no longer ticking points. So I need to get rid of that unit. That OSA needs to go, then potentially I can have a recon helicopter again pop in, even though it's expensive. I decide against it eventually and just decide to get a BMP. And there are all the transports. There's a tank. Nothing about this I like to see. There's all sorts of shit there. I do have a Malyotka P, in case I can get flank shots, that'd be great, but at the moment, not yet. The Yikari are already in contact. Once again, a MiG-25 RBT flies directly over my lines and finally gets shot down by the Ito. I'm not sure what it was doing, where it was doing it, or what its intended target was, but I was glad to see it go down. Now, at this point, the situation here is not looking good. There's VDV coming out from all over the forest, all over the tree line there. I don't have the numbers to deal with this. So, time for the quick solution, the Mi-17s. If he does not have enough anti-air support, I'm able to deal with all of his infantry very, very swiftly. In fact, I still had an Mi-17 hovering there. I just need to hover it higher and allow it to do its murder business, which is what these things are amazingly good at. Since he's busy over there on the left attacking me, I decide to smoke up the right, or the middle if you will, Gregory, and start working over that side. Because if I can get a couple of infantry units there, I might be able to kill off the command tank, or at least force it out. So instead of having these Rannico go to the front line, I divert them off the hill and directly towards where I suspect the command vehicle is. I mean, there's not that much opportunity for that thing to hide, so it shouldn't be that hard to find. Smoking it up. Thankfully, he has no fire support or tanks or whatever inside the tree line a bit further back, otherwise these XA-180s would be dead. Dropping off, getting the XA-180s to move beyond the smoke, and just trying to find the command tank. Still trying to find the other command tank as well. And surprisingly, I'm not getting shot at on the right either. Fedor, Foxtrot, if you will. There's nothing there. So I might be able to make work of that. The command tank decides that it's time to leave the area. Gregory is no longer capture-capped. Excellent, +1. So far, so good. Now, I did lose half of the Rannico squads. So I only have 10 of them left. And 10 of those against the command tank is possible, just not comfortable. T80 UK immediately wipes out my unit. I try to get the PST Pigeon over there to try and deal with the UK, but once again the UK hides in the forest. Nevertheless, with the command tank out of Gregory and the command in Fedor on the move, he currently has no income at all, and I have a +2. So this is going quite well. And I decide to make it even worse by adding another CV into Gregory. I just need to get one or some way to make it safe. There's the command tank again in Fedor. I need a way to keep it safe, so time to try and get some ATGMs in there. Once again, the UK gets spotted, and once again my Seria tries to make a move at it. The XA-185 PST Pigeon comes in, try to kill it, but I again lose line of sight. That little thing just, well, little... that tank keeps moving about, and I simply can't hit it. What I can do is drop off my fire support units, my ATGMs there, but since the ATGMs and the MS-17s weren't strictly needed in Boris at the moment, I decided to relocate them to Greg, because there they could be useful. Time to bring in a couple more units. Scott 2s with Spado. I'm going to try and push that command tank out of there the hard way. Get the Fagot over to the front line. Potentially I can hunt down that Tunguska M, which would be a very good kill, as it is, of course, one of those highly expensive anti-air units. Tank comes in, Milyutka moves forward, still no sight of the command tank. So once again the Erico move in, seemingly undetected, or at least unchallenged. So far so good. MI-17 start dropping off, the recon tank pushes up. I get some more infantry to help out there. Still no command tank. There it is. Finally. T-55 tries to get a shot. I thought at the command tank, but no, it's at Motostrelki. And my MiG gets attacked by the Yak-141. I retaliate, but a little late. And I think I did shoot something down. I'm just not exactly sure what there. The command tank spotted. But since it was spotted and then unspotted, I already aborted this area, even though it popped up in front of this area the moment that this area was there. Once again, no joy at killing the command tank. And this time the command tank decides to shoot back at my T-55 recon. So that went about as well as you can expect, and the T-55 is forced to disengage. I'm surprised it survived at all. This time around, the T-55, the command tank is going to be facing my infantry. But it's not alone. There's BTR-90 over there. And because I thought it was just a command tank, I'm not even sure why I thought that, the BTR-90 chews up all the infantry. And all the infantry dies very, very, very quickly. Another fighter appears, an SU-27S, just as I had line of sight on the tank, and I call in the Seria, and the Seria dies. However, I do get a revenge on the 27S with the 2 ROMs that I have there. Let's try and resupply and get some more infantry over to the side. And the command tank is spotted again, but so is the Erico infantry squad. Or at least I think so, but it turns out that the T80 UK is engaging the Milyutka. All sorts of fireworks is going off, and the Milyutka, believe it or not, jumps in the river. And loses line of sight. But finally, it is the PST Pigeon on the top right side that kills the command tank. Finally. Finally, I'm at a +3. With a motorized deck. I'm not complaining. We're going to keep going. Let's get some more units over into that sector. the better my foothold will be, the more favorable the match is going to end up for me. So let's get these light infantry units here. There is still something moving about there. It's a bunch of Razvedka. They really have to leave. But because they're in the tree line, the T-55 recon can't see them. The Sissy team can't shoot them. And I am left with retreating the BRDM2 again, in favor of waiting for the Scott 2s to come in, and sort of keeping them at bay with the Erico. At this point, the attack on the left still hasn't happened. Something is definitely brewing, but it's still not happening. And I thought, okay, this is going to get very uncomfortable very soon. Because there was all sorts of infantry, armor, fire support. Everything was being brought to bear there, and I still did not have an answer. I mean, I got my objective completed. I pushed the command tank out of Fedor. But beyond that, I'm going to run into trouble on the left. Dealing with a couple of stragglers here. Turns out that there were Spetsnaz GRU in that forest. And the Mi-17s, well, their package died. But I do still have some more HGMs. There's XA-180s coming in, so that's more elite infantry. And guess who it is? It's another command tank. Another T-80 UK moves forward. So I think that that T-80 UK that left Gregory, that one was pulled all the way back to base. Reasons unbeknownst, but I think that's where it went. Now, let's get rid of the Spetsnaz GRU using the Mi-17s and basically lock down the entirety of Fedor as best I can, using ATGMs and further infantry. At this point, though, I have lost basically the entirety of Boris. I still have control of it, officially with a CV, but that's about the extent of it. So I'm trying to get infantry here as quickly as possible. I cannot really push on Fedor anymore because I don't have any... Well, I don't really have a pushing force there. Yes, I have transports, yes, I have infantry, but it's not really worth pushing with because it's too easy to counter. So instead, I'm going to try and lock it down and then focus on the defense of Boris. There's 2 elite infantry coming, that's Ranico, but beyond that I have nothing. Yeah, I got my mortars, but the mortars have 15 shells between the 2 of them, so time to call in some more quickly. And look who it is! It's a BMD command unit. And the BMD, I believe, is not dead yet. It's on the move. It's being called back. Unfortunately, neither of these transports really has the power to push it out. So I'm trying to get the Mi-17 to go after it, and potentially the package. As another Yak-141 shows up, just as I had the Seria in the air to try and deal with the command unit, the Seria dies. So that's the last of my tank snipers. Both of my Seria are now down, and that's going to be concerning because there's a quad stack of T-80Bs on the left-hand side. That's going to be all sorts of fun. Now I have a whole 2 units of Erico, or rather 2 operators in a 10-man Erico squad, light infantry, and some HGMs pushing up. Let's get another CV before I get wiped out here. Tunguska gets detected. It's the same Tunguska M as a moment ago, I think. So let's see if I can potentially get eyes on it and snipe it with the mortars. And just keep ticking that +2, +3, whatever I can get as quickly as possible, please. Split up the HGMs. I have to make sure that I lock down this sector. And that I try and not have any aircraft, being helicopter, rocket pods, or bombers, deal with all my infantry. That's why the ROMs have moved up. Look at what's happening on the left. There is all sorts of trouble brewing there. He is gonna roll right over me. Initially I think, okay, this is fine. Because I'm able to take out a bunch of Spetsnaz. I see the Tunguska with the Sissy team over there. Unfortunately I'm not able to hit it. And he starts smoking up what I think is, or what I suspect that he thinks is my town that's under control there. Which it isn't. I have absolutely nothing in that town. Now comes the offensive of the Modestrelki. I highlight all the Mi-17s as their quick, decent fire support units, and I pull them back. I'm going to need every man on deck here. Ranico are getting wiped out by no fewer than 10 or 12 heavy tanks. There is very little that I can do at the moment. So time to get the hell out. But look at how weak that flank is. Alpha, or Anna, has only 1 CV in it. Yes, I have control over Fedor. I have a +2. Points are going up quite nicely. But based on what the hell is coming down from Anna, it's not going to be that long before the CV there gets wiped out. The second CV, that is, because I also had the one from Boris pulled back. I called in a couple of HH-10s to try and deal with as many tanks as possible. But with those things being in the forest, it was hard to spot them. And the HH-10s only carry a few HGMs. So, as close as I am to a decent victory here, I have a lot to worry about. Considering calling in light infantry, it's not the right unit. In hindsight, it's not the right unit. I should have called in something else. And then I decided to go... At the moment, I thought, I'm going to go Blitz War. And I'm going to call in all sorts of cheap HGM vehicles. But that works if you have terrain. If you have tree lines, you're going to run into trouble because the T-80Bs are going to pop in and out of vision. Bit of a general's reference. And hopefully the Salamandra's keeping lit these T-80Bs long enough to deal damage. But not that long, unfortunately. I still have no infantry units in Anna. There's nothing I can do at the moment. So instead I think, you know what, maybe I can have the Mi-17 just stop the flow by killing off the command unit in Fedor. Or in, what's that, Echo? And unfortunately there are a couple of anti-air units positioned there, so I'm not able to deal with that. Light infantry is trying to deal with the BMD-2K. Unfortunately not able to get it with the first shot, but the second shot gets it and it dies. So there is a lot riding on this for him, because he has all sorts of tanks coming out of Anna. He has probably no command tank left, or maybe 1 command tank. He has at least a slight shortage of CVs. Maybe I have killed all of the ones, then he only has the ones that are currently on the field left. So the more CVs I can kill, the better. But I have some trouble. Because he kills another CV of mine. And again, I have no tank sniper. There's Skrejets coming in, which are dealing damage against my HH-10s. I'm trying to call in a rocket pod plane to deal with all those Skrejets. I need those dead before the HH-10s all get killed off. I'm still at a +1 though. So far, I'm still going. I just need to keep this up for a little longer, as I have about 30 points left to go. The problem is, he is going to start pushing on my spawn. I have very few points. My helos are mostly out of missiles. I have no tank snipers. And I don't really have a decent way to kill the other BMD-2K that's out there. At the same time, my mortars are dying, and the T-80Bs keep pushing. The Salamandra is reverting to just using rocket pods against helicopters. And while I have 1 more Ranico squad being spawned in, I think I don't have enough to kill all of those tanks. I'm still at a +2. 6.5 minutes left. But he once again is able to kill... No, he's not able to kill a CV. I think he captures a sector. I think he captured Boris at this stage. The Mi-17s are trying to deal damage against the Skrejets as quickly as they can. Ranico are getting dropped off. The CV is dangerously close to the tanks. Very, very dangerous there. And yes, there's another T-80B, but the Ranico don't have the range. Thankfully, at the moment, the T-80Bs don't have the line of sight yet, but it's awfully, awfully close. Now, let's have a quick look at the score, shall we? Yep, he was able to kill a CV just before I ticked to 500 points. Shit. Okay, but I have 5 minutes and 45 seconds left. I still have a triple stack on my Yutkas, and I still have quite a few forces. I still have a spawn. I just need to get rid of all of his tanks. And Skrejets and whatever else he just dropped off in that town. He starts taking a +1. I relocate the CV, trying to keep it safe. And in the meanwhile, of course, I cannot call in any air support. I cannot call in any more units. So the only unit that I still have coming in is the HH10. And sadly, it starts taking down MTLBVs, which is not what I need dead. I don't need to spend one of my 4 missiles hunting down 5-point transports. So temporarily calling in the CV again. Or sorry, pausing the CV, spawning units. The moment that units have been called in, I can relocate and I can once again get my CV a little bit closer to safety. The Narrat0r take out the Skrejet, thankfully. Time to get into the building to take another T-80B. The MiG-25 RBT comes in, that's the cluster bomber. I was wondering if he knew where the CV was, but, well, even if he does, there's not a whole lot I can do about it other than keep moving around. I'm able to find the command unit that he has. I'm just able to kill it. So time to bring in whatever else I have there. I still have a lot of shit over on the right. I just completely forgot about it as I'm trying to deal with the stuff here. At this point, I find the command tank. The T-80 UK. I just miss it with the last missile on the HH-10. And I lose line of sight on it. So at the moment, that thing is still there. It's not quite capturing my +2, but yep, now it is again. And then I thought, you know what? He just probably spent a whole lot pushing forward. I bet he doesn't have that much protecting Boris. So maybe I could just cut off his line over there. Because he's now at a +4. If he keeps this up for a while, it's going to be very painful. I spot another tank. Missile finds it. And doesn't kill it. I drop off Yickety, but right on top of a T-80B, which is bad news for the Yickety. I think the tank might have been killed, but I'm not sure. Terramustis and Scots trying desperately to find the CV in Boris. It needs to go. Urgent. I have 1 missile left on that HH-10. The Yickety might be able to find it. The Narrat0r might be able to help. Anything and everything that can get line of sight on the T-80 UK has to be brought forward. I will bomb that thing if I have to. But I want that thing out of my +2. Yickety not able to fire at it. Rocket pods deal with the VDV. That's at least one threat less for the Yickety, but of course the tank takes out the Yickety anyway. T-80 UK on the loose, but it's out of the sector. That's good news, and it's walking right up to the Narrat0r. And over here, the Terramusti and the Scot have indeed found what I was hoping to find. The command infantry. And at the moment, there's not that much that he can do about it. Yes, he can run. That's fine. I just need to break that incredible amount of income that he had. And the Narrat0r do the thing that I finally wanted them to do. Take out the command tank. So he has a +1. But at the moment, it is not sufficient. And it is GG. And despite that very, very highly aggressive and dangerous push, I win. But that was close. You could have definitely won that. But it's just, well, I clutched it right there. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you want to play the deck, linked down below in the description. Big thanks to Blitzwar for showing me the deck. And I hope you guys enjoyed the vid. If you did, give it a like. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon for more.